I have $1.5. Now take me to my mom in the sky. When my grandchild Mabel arrived in front of the station staff, she took out his wallet from her backpack and offered the money to the station staff. "Oh, that's..." The station staff, who had a serious look on Mabel, looked at us in confusion. "Come on, Mabel." I hugged Mabel tightly and explained that it would take a long time to get to Mom's and that she couldn't get there by train. It's because I said simply, "Mommy is in the sky." Mabel believed it and was desperately trying to figure out how to meet her mommy. I thought I was cuddling, but I didn't understand Mabel's feelings at all. Knowing Mabel's thoughts, my heart almost bursts. All I could do was hug Mabel and wait for her to calm down. At that moment, I heard a voice from behind me. "I'm ready." What? Both Mabel and I look up involuntarily. There stood Ciaran in the form of a demon. "Here we go." "Dad, where are you going?" Ignoring my question, Ciaran dragged Mabel with a grim look on his face and boarded the train that was parked on the other side. "My name is Wanda. I met my husband, Ciaran, who is 2 years older than me, when I was 20 years old through a friend's introduction. At the time, I was working at a hamburger joint. One day, 2 men entered the store as soon as it opens at 11 o'clock. Is that Wanda?" Wow, I was surprised. "Do you work around here?" "It's about a 10-minute walk from here, and I thought I'd have a meeting in the afternoon today." "Oh, this is Ciaran, a senior. This place seems to be a hamburger joint recommended by..." Next to his friend, a man called Ciaran bows his head with a jerk. "Oh, I know this person. He comes in about once a week and always buys a cheeseburger." "You come often, don't you?" "Thank you for coming always." Bowing politely, Ciaran blushed slightly. A friend smirks when he sees Ciaran. "Ciaran, he's a man who can do a lot of work and I admire him. Wanda is an unfussy little animal type and a sister character. It's just my hunch, but you two definitely look good together." "What are you talking about? Look, I'm going to buy it and go back as soon as possible." Ciaran took 2 cheeseburgers and handed them to me. "Oh, it's $8 for 2. As I tried to give him change, my finger hit Ciaran's palm. "Oh, I'm sorry." "No, I'm sorry about this. The junior said something strange. Let's go." As I looked at the back of Ciaran's back as he walked beside his friend who turned and waved at me, I suddenly noticed that his earlobes were red. Even though she's older, she's kind of cute. I involuntarily relaxed my cheeks. From this day onwards, we become aware of each other. "Thank you for the always delicious burgers." "No, thank you for coming to buy it. You like cheese." Ciaran nodded shyly. "If you don't mind, would you like to go see a movie with me?" One day, Ciaran offered her a movie ticket. "This is the one I just wanted to go see." "I'm so glad." Ciaran smirks when he sees me happy. After that, we went out together a few times and eventually started dating. "Let's have a picnic tomorrow. What do you want to eat?" "Cheese." "Cheese is good, but I think it's bacon." Choosing his words, Ciaran embarrassedly confessed that he actually liked bacon the most of all the burgers. "Bacon is in every burger, isn't it? Then you don't have to have a cheeseburger every time." The shocking confession made me burst out involuntarily. "No, if you don't decide soon, it's bad for other customers." Ciaran still speaks shyly. Ciaran is clumsy, speechless and shy. but there is a kindness that allows you to be attentive to those around you. People tend to think that he is taciturn and stiff, but I could feel his kindness, and I wanted to be with him forever. Thankfully, Ciaran seemed to feel the same way, and when I was 22 years old, I married him. The following year, their only son, Bryce, was born. It was obvious that Ciaran doted on Bryce. As soon as Bryce starts crying, Ciaran flies over and hugs him silently, even though he's alone. "Thank you, Dad. If you talk to him, he'll remember your voice as soon as you talk to him." "What do you mean by talking to me?" Clearing his throat, he left Bryce to me, and Ciaran walked into his room, scratching his head. I'm sure it's embarrassing. To me, his clumsy display of affection seemed cute. Eventually, Bryce became an elementary school student. "Listen to me, I'm at school today." "I see. Can I take baseball lessons with my friends?" "Do what you love." Even if Bryce talks to him happily, Ciaran listens but basically ends the conversation with a slap or a word. It was nothing to me as I understood it to be Ciaran, but as Bryce grew older, he didn't talk to his father as much. "Bryce, did you email your father that you accepted your first choice?" "No, tell him about it. Father is not interested in me." "That's not true because the talisman." "Amulet." "Yes, your father is quiet about everyone, but he really cares about you." "I'm not sure about that." When Ciaran was applying for Bryce's university, he went all the way to the shrine where the god of learning was enshrined to buy an amulet. "Don't tell him it's from me." Ciaran said she was embarrassed and bluntly handed me the amulet. I ended up giving the amulet to Bryce, who cares more about his son than anyone else. I hope one day he will notice Ciaran's confusing expression of affection. I couldn't help but hope so, staring at his completely enlarged back. Bryce left home to go to college and married Nyla, who he had been dating since college, at the age of 23. When I went to look for Ciaran, who didn't come to the bedroom the day before the wedding, he was alone in the living room drinking and looking at the album. "You've become magnificent." Ciaran's hoarse voice can be heard faintly. I quietly walked back to my bedroom so as not to be noticed by Ciaran, who was sniffling and flipping through the album. The year after their marriage, Bryce and his wife had a cute baby girl named Mabel. My son and his family live in an apartment 1 hour away by car, and he always called out to us when we celebrated our grandchild, such as visiting the temple or starting to eat, so we were able to see our grandchild's growth up close. "Mabel, it's Grandma." I hugged Mabel and she smiled at me. Mabel is a girl with patchy eyes that resembles Nyla. She was not shy and was just cute, and I was mellow with Mabel. And next to me, Ciaran silently holds out his index finger to Mabel. Mabel grabbed Ciaran's fingers and Ciaran finally relaxed her cheeks slightly. Grandpa loves Mabel too. When I express my feelings, Toru turns red in the face. Mabel stared at Ciaran. My grandchild grew up faster than my own child. Before we knew, Mabel was able to walk and speak. When Ciaran is alone with Mabel, he lowers the corners of his eyes and talks softly to her grandson, but he seems embarrassed to let anyone see him. Grandpa. Mabel, Grandpa is busy, let's play with Mommy. I watched with a smile as Ciaran was embarrassed to be called by Mabel in front of Bryce and Nyla and ran to her room. But beside him, Bryce sighs. My father-in-law, I wonder if he is not good at small children. I guess he does not like being bothered, and I don't even remember playing with my dad. Should I not bring her? That's not true. I happened to overhear a conversation between Bryce and the couple, and I denied it with all my might. He cares about my son Bryce and my grandson Mabel. I wonder if that's so. With a look of dismay, Bryce stared at Ciaran's closed room. At the very least, I wanted my family to understand Ciaran's kindness and family friendliness, but how could they understand me? I racked my brain. After that, Bryce still seemed to have something to say about Ciaran's attitude, but Nyla was different. This is the same as Mabel, but please use it if you like. Nyla gave Ciaran a bath towel. Cute towel with rabbit pattern. The pattern, which is far from the stiff Ciaran, made me chuckle. Oh, thank you. Ciaran said as much as he could and went into his room. Ciaran's expression softened a little, but I wonder if Nyla noticed. After that, Nyla continued to care about something and talked to Ciaran. Thank you, Nyla, for father. I would like to thank her in Ciaran's absence. Mabel loves his father-in-law, and he has a keen intuition, doesn't he? I also want to know more about my father-in-law, and I'm going to talk to him as much as possible now. She said playfully. It was good, she was a nice person. Sports day, play party, summer holiday, New Year's. We were able to meet the Bryce family at least 4 times, and each time we met, we couldn't be happier to see Mabel growing up well. However, an event occurs that changes such a happy life completely. Nyla was killed in a car accident on her way home. Hello, Mother Nyla. Nyla. It was a pleasant autumn evening in the evening of Mabel's 6th birthday the following month. After receiving a call from Bryce, we rushed to the hospital. There, Nyla, who had already become cold, and next to it was the figure of Bryce, who was crying uncontrollably. Mabel is apparently still in the nursery. Be with Bryce, and I'll pick Mabel from daycare. Ciaran said and walked out of the room, worried about Bryce. On that day, we had to go through explanations and various procedures from the hospital and the police, and it was after 12 midnight when Bryce and I returned home. Welcome back. What about Mabel? She's sleeping in my bed. I've done a good job of feeding and bathing. Thank you. There were unwashed cutting boards and pans in the sink. I'm sorry I fell asleep when I put him to bed. I'll clean it up now. Yes, I'll do it, thank you, Father. Nyla was especially careful about Mabel's diet due to allergies. That's probably why Ciaran cooked for Mabel, even though she rarely cooks. Ciaran had never taken care of his grandchildren on his own, but I think he did a good job. And when Bryce arrives home and breaks down crying again, Ciaran just follows him in silence. It was during the night that Mabel came face to face with Nyla's corpse. She was cleaned, and it looked like she was asleep. Daddy, why is my mommy sleeping in a place like this? Unable to bear Mabel's words, Bryce jumps out. Mabel looks at her father curiously. Mommy, she can't wake up anymore, she's gone to heaven. Did she go alone? Take Mabel with my mommy. Mabel held Mom's hand. Mommy, let's go home together. If you sleep in a place like this, you'll catch a cold. Mabel, who is only 5 years old, has no idea that her mother will never wake up again. Ciaran and I stood there, not knowing how to explain it to Mabel. We managed to finish the funeral and return home. I couldn't help but worry about Bryce, who was in tears and depressed. Hey Bryce, let's live together in our house, and if we have 3 adults, we can take care of Mabel. We couldn't leave Bryce alone because we were so shocked that we couldn't see it, so we proposed to Bryce to live with us. He nodded silently and we decided to live together. Wow, can I live with Grandpa and Grandma? I wonder if Mom will come home soon. Mabel, who didn't understand anything, was happy to say so. Are you going out yet? What's for breakfast? It's okay because I'm going to eat at work and I'll be busy for a while, so you don't have to prepare dinner. Bryce leaves at 6 a.m. and returns at 11 p.m. By the time he got home, the three of us were already asleep. When he gets home, he doesn't talk to anyone. He takes a bath, goes to bed, and he leaves the house before Mabel wakes up. Bryce seemed to be immersed in his work so as not to remember Nyla. Give this to Bryce. Worried about Bryce, Ciaran bought a box full of chocolate balls which Bryce used to like. It's from your father. I don't know if Bryce, who has a bad heart, eats it properly at work, but I give him the chocolate ball every morning along with the rice balls for breakfast. Mabel, on the other hand, woke up every morning to ask if her mom was home. Mommy's in the sky, you can't see her, but she's watching Mabel. Each time I took Mabel to the front of the altar and explained. Look, shall we say good morning to Mommy? Good morning. Warning. I force myself to smile at Mabel, who has an unconvincing look on her face. Come back soon. Mabel's muttering was audible to me, but I said to drown out her words. Let's go pick flowers with Grandma today. Mabel has not attended daycare since Nyla died. Her mom always took her to daycare, so she didn't want to go unless she was with her mom. Her mother is gone and she can't see her father anymore. I'm sure Mabel herself is feeling anxious. With that in mind, I decided to distract Mabel by being next to her as much as possible. Nyla is going to get mad at you if you stay on your back forever, and Nyla told me she couldn't be happier to see you and Mabel smile. I tried to cheer up Bryce, who was still confined after the 49th laying of her bones, but as soon as he heard Nyla's name, he burst into tears without saying a word. I'm sorry, but you're Mabel's father. I know. Bryce said and quickly left the house. Mabel, on the other hand, still doesn't suspect that her mom is coming home and asks her every day, where's my mommy? Each time I told that Nyla was in the sky and took her to the altar. Mommy is listening here, so why don't you talk to her? Mabel, however, could only stare at her mother's remains with her mouth firmly pursed. I wonder how these two can get over it. I sighed deeply. One day, while watching a toddler program with Mabel, Mabel said, Grandma, give me some money. What? What are you going to use it for? I want to take the train. The toddler program I was watching was a story about a girl who travels to various places on a train. Fly through the air, cross rainbow bridges, run through the ocean. You can do anything and go anywhere. It's a story full of dreams. Well, I'll give you some pocket money if you help me, and I'll save some money and get on the train. Yes. For the first time in a long time, I saw Mabel's beaming smile. Where does Mabel want to go? It's okay to go out together. That might make Bryce feel a little better. As I thought about this, I narrowed my eyes at Mabel, who was eager to help. Grandpa and Grandma, I'm going to take the train. A few days later, Mabel appeared in front of us, carrying a small backpack and a hat, ready to go. Are you going today? That's right, I need to go quickly. Ciaran and I look at each other. Pulling my hand tightly, we succumbed to Mabel's momentum and went straight to the station. I'm just going to watch the train today. I told Mabel that I hadn't made any plans yet, but Mabel wouldn't listen. I wonder if she can calm down as she look at the train. With that in mind, we took Mabel to the station. When she arrived at the station and found the station staff standing in front of the ticket gate, Mabel ran out. It's dangerous if you run. Ciaran and I hurriedly chase after her. Mabel, who arrived in front of the station staff early, took out her wallet from her backpack and offered the money to the station staff. I have $1.5. Now take me to my mom in the sky. Oh, that's... The station staff, who had a serious look on Mabel, looked at us in confusion. Come on, Mabel. I hugged Mabel tightly and explained that it would take a long time to get to Mom's and that she couldn't get there by train. I can go anywhere. I'm going to see my mom too. On TV, the train was running in the sky, so if I got on the train, I could go to my mom in the sky, Mabel said while crying. It's because I said simply, Mommy is in the sky. Mabel believed it and was desperately trying to figure out how. Mabel couldn't understand what was going on, and even though she was hiccuping, the tears had completely stopped. We were silent in the car. Dad, where are you going from here? After sitting down and regaining my composure a bit, I asked Ciaran where he was going. You'll find out right away. Ciaran said as much as he could, and then shifted his gaze out the window. I called out to Mabel, who was looking down. Mabel, do you want any candy? Mabel nods curtly. You can see the sea over there. In order to break through the subtle atmosphere, I tried to be cheerful. I must have been on the ride for about 30 minutes. We're going to get off next, Ciaran said, and as soon as the automatic door opened, he began to walk. I hold Mabel's hand and follow him to make sure he doesn't lag. Ciaran got into a taxi that had stopped when he left the station. We squeezed Mabel's hand as she looked at us with an anxious look on her face, and we got into the taxi. Presumably, before we boarded, Ciaran had told the driver where we were going. As soon as we got in, the taxi started moving. It's nice to go out with Grandpa and Grandma. The driver looked at Mabel through the rearview mirror and spoke to him. Mabel's face stiffens and she doesn't respond, but the driver talks to her further. There's a good pizzeria nearby, so you can buy it. Yes. Seeing Mabel's expression relax a little when she heard the word pizza, the driver smiled gently. About 15 minutes later, the taxi stopped in front of a temple. I know this place. Wow. You remember the last time you came? Yes, I've been here once during the 49-day burial. But at that time I came by car, so I didn't really realize where Ciaran was going until I took a taxi. Regardless of us, Ciaran walks through the cemetery, stopping in front of a cemetery and beckoning to Mabel. Relieved to know that it was a place she knew, Mabel ran to Ciaran. I'm sorry I was too busy to explain to you the last time I came. Mabel's mom is sleeping here. Ciaran crouched down and spoke slowly, at eye level with Mabel. The fact that Mabel has been obscured because she is still a child. Ciaran tells Mabel that her mom died in a car accident and that she will never see the deceased person again. Mabel holds back tears and listens intently to Ciaran's story. Mabel, and we can't see her, but she's always there to support you. I tried my best to smile while holding back tears and told Mabel. Mommy said she was happiest when she saw Mabel and Daddy laughing. I admire Ciaran because he knows Nyla very well. Mom, I've always wanted to see my mom. I was lonely. She couldn't seem to think of a fun story when she was suddenly asked to do so, so she began to put her feelings into words little by little. I helped my grandma and grandpa a lot to see my mommy. I worked hard to help earn train fare to go to see my mom. I learned to wash dishes. I went through a long tunnel on my first train. As she spoke, Mabel's expression brightened. Oh, Mom's favorite pizzeria is nearby. Mabel remembered what the taxi driver had told her earlier. Then why don't you buy it on the way home and offer it to our Buddhist altar? Mommy, are you coming to my house? Mommy is always near Mabel, you just can't see her. But she's here, so let's talk to her together at home. Yes. Seeing Mabel completely brighten up, Ciaran and I patted each other's chests. That night, Mabel was in front of the altar. The pizza was delicious. Also, I brewed this coffee. I'll lend you my cup. Good night then. Mabel started walking forward. On that day, I said something in my sleep that I rarely say. Mommy raced to the other side. She seems to be playing with her mother in her dream. Thank you, Dad. I thanked Ciaran for having the courage to tell Mabel the truth. And then there's Bryce. I didn't have the confidence to make Bryce feel better. 1 week has passed since then. I fell asleep with Mabel and woke up around 11 a.m. Oh dear. I haven't washed the dishes yet. As I walked down the hallway to go to the kitchen, I heard a voice from the living room. Hang out for a drink. Gently peeking inside, Bryce seems to have just returned and is holding a bag in one hand. I'm tired. Sit down. When Bryce tried to decline the invitation, Ciaran forced him to sit down, and Ciaran held out a glass of whiskey in front of Bryce. I went to Nyla's grave the other day. Ciaran told Bryce that she had saved money by helping Mabel go to see Nyla on the train, that she had cried at the train station that she wanted to see her mommy, and that he had told Mabel the truth and that she understood. Mabel has sorted out her mind and is now looking forward. Bryce interrupts Ciaran's words and put on the glass. I can't change my mind that easily. Bryce tearfully complained that he still can't accept that Nyla has died and that he's deliberately immersed himself in his work so as not to think about her. I'm not a child, so I can't accept it as quickly as Mabel. There's no way my dad can understand how I feel. He glares at Bryce, who is completely irrational, and screams. It's not like she was accepted right away because she was a kid, and she struggled for a long time and finally accepted it. Nyla is gone and you, her father, are not near her. The person Mabel wanted to rely on the most was you, her father. Yes, Mabel didn't say it out loud, but she always cared about Bryce. No matter how much we were by our side, it would have been unsettling to see the family we had been living with suddenly fall apart. Hearing Ciaran's story, Bryce regained his composure a little. Me and your mother are the right age, so we don't know what will happen at any time. You're the only one there, her father. Bryce looks down and sheds tears. Give your love to Mabel, as Nyla couldn't do, and spend time with Mabel and get through it together. Before he knew it, tears were flowing from Ciaran's eyes. Ciaran's words must have resonated with Bryce. I quietly went back to the bedroom so as not to be found by the two people who were silently facing each other and continuing their dinner. When I woke up the next morning, all the dishes in the sink were clean, and there were 2 glasses hanging out to dry. Thank you for washing. Did you have a drink with Bryce? What did you talk about? I was drunk, so I don't remember. CRN unfolded the newspaper he was reading and deceived him. He can properly silence conversations between men. I felt once again that this is also a wonderful side of CRN. After that, Bryce started going to eat breakfast at home. Daddy, good morning. Mabel wakes up in the morning and is overjoyed to have her daddy. Bryce gently stroked Mabel's head. Mabel, are you going to nursery school with Daddy? Yes. Perhaps relieved to know that her dad would be by her side, Mabel began to attend the nursery school where she had been absent for a long time. I'm going to do my best at daycare, so Daddy should be working hard, and when I get back, I'll talk to Mommy and the three of us. Okay. Saved by Mabel's brightness, Bryce has become much more positive. When he returns home early, as promised, Bryce and Mabel report on the day's events in front of Nyla's remains. Mabel was such a laughing child. No matter how hard we grandparents try, we are not suitable for fathers. Thanks to Bryce, Mabel was able to regain her true self. When he finally realized that she was a single parent, he started looking for a new job to make the most of his time with Mabel. I was looking for a company that would allow me to work from home and be friendly to the child-rearing generation. Don't be too intimidated. If you're doing well, Mabel will be doing well. Thank you. I squint at Bryce, who has become so fatherly. After a year of job searching, Bryce was finally able to move to the company of his choice. Thanks to this, we can go to elementary school visit days held on weekdays, and on Sundays we can all enjoy where Mabel wants to go and what we want to do. What are you guys talking about over dinner? Then, on Sunday, CRN and Bryce start drinking as soon as Mabel goes to bed. I was curious about the content of the conversation between the two and asked them, but they said they didn't talk about anything in particular. Well, it makes sense that CRN is the opponent. CRN silently watches over you gently. I'm sure Bryce can feel CRN's kindness, and parents and children who have a good heart do not need words. I was somewhat envious of the relationship between the two. Mabel, what's wrong with these shoes? One time, there was a cute pair of shoes that I didn't see at the entrance. Grandpa bought it for me, my favorite sky blue. CRN, who was sitting on the couch, blatantly looked away from me. It's okay to buy it separately, but why did CRN look away from me? Grandpa bought me this pencil case, a notepad, socks, and a hat. Oh, really? Oh. Speaking of which, last Saturday he said that the two of us went out while he was going to the ophthalmologist. I'm sure he succumbed to his cute grandson's begging. Imagining what it would be like at that time, I couldn't help but laugh. What's wrong? Yes, Grandpa is kind. Mabel smiles and nods. My grandpa told me, be like your mom, so I have to do my best. Like mom? According to Mabel, CRN told Mabel that he admired Nyla's attentiveness, open-mindedness, and most of all, the fact that he could say that family smiles were her happiness. Grandpa still takes care of the towel he got from my mom, and he said it was his treasure. I was amazed that CRN was able to express his thoughts so clearly to Mabel. CRN is close to the other person and responds in a way that suits the other person. The way he drinks in silence with Bryce and the way he communicates with Mabel in words were both wonderful aspects of CRN. Now, after more than 30 years of marriage, I noticed a new attraction to CRN, and I fell in love with him again. Daddy, don't forget to buy pizza. And today, December 7th, is the anniversary of Nyla's death. On the anniversary of her death, the family of 4 will visit Nyla's grave. This time, at Mabel's request, the four of us came on a train. Mabel cleans the grave in the cold. Thank you. Did I look like my mom? You were like my mom. Mabel is very happy to be praised by Ciaran. Bryce looks at Mabel with a smile. Our family is laughing so much. So don't worry, Nyla. Please continue to watch over the four of us. When I opened my eyes, I was enveloped in such a warm air, as if Nyla was here,